Tiens, regarde, ça y est, c'est parti là. Ça y est, c'est parti. Ça y est. Allez, reculez les enfants. Allez, hop. Allez.
Le sud-ouest de la Chine, confronté aux pires intempéries de ces 50 dernières années. Les pluies torrentielles qui durent depuis plusieurs jours ont transformé les rivières en torrents dévastateurs et provoqué de nombreux glissements de terrain, parfois meurtriers. C'est surtout la province du Sichuan qui est affectée. Le dernier bilan provisoire fait état d'au moins 12 personnes tuées dans un glissement de terrain. Au moins 21 autres sont toujours portées disparues. Au total, plusieurs dizaines de milliers de personnes ont été évacuées. Les dégâts matériels sont considérables. Outre des centaines d'habitations balayées par les eaux, des routes et des ponts ont été totalement ou partiellement détruits. Les météorologues ne prévoient pas d'amélioration avant quelques jours.
Mexico's Popocatépetl volcano has erupted in dramatic fashion, sending plumes of ash-filled smoke into the air. A 12-kilometre safety radius around the volcano has been put in place. But Popocatépetl is also having a major disruptive effect on air travel. At least 6 US airlines have cancelled flights out of Mexico City and Toluca
avoid this
Airport.
place. Take a peek. A massive mess of green algae has taken over in the waters off the resort area of Shandong province.
The algae first started appearing in the middle of June, and reports say it has spread along the coast from Jiangsu province to Shandong Peninsula.
So just how much algae is here? Well, according to the local environmental and sanitation officials, they're clearing out 11 million pounds
Let's get
of
back
this
to that
stuff.
major storm in southern Ontario. Heavy rains brought severe flooding to Toronto and the surrounding areas. This was just the first wave of a major storm system that hit at the peak of the afternoon rush hour.
More than a month's worth of rain in just 2 hours, wreaking havoc with the city.
This morning, flash flooding dumped a record amount of rain, nearly 4 inches around Toronto. 300,000 customers lost power. The subway system was shut down and may not be back at full strength today. 1,400 commuters were trapped for hours until early this morning.
126 millimeters of rain fell. That is the most that has ever fallen in Toronto on a single day. It turned roads into rivers, and though the damage is not on the same scale as Calgary's flash floods last month, there is massive disruption.
Some drivers were forced to abandon their cars after being completely submerged. Dozens of flights to and from Toronto were canceled.
China's worst flooding in 50 years has triggered a major landslide, burying dozens of people. Thousands of residents have been forced to evacuate as flash floods wash away homes and vital infrastructure.
Torrential rain has pounded large areas of southwest China for the past 4 days, affecting more than 1.5 million people.
And leaving at least 31 people dead. The authorities say more than 160 people are missing, but they're still struggling to verify the numbers. Almost 250,000 people have been forced from their homes.
The torrent of water has swept away nearly everything in its path. Entire buildings fell to the ground. Very little could withstand its force.
Mudslides and flooding are common in China's mountainous areas, killing hundreds every year. But this year's rainfall and flooding is unusually severe so early in the rainy season.
lot of miserable weather soaking a lot of Americans tonight, and this is how much of the country is drenched. Rain, storms, in some cases dangerous mudslides.
Severe weather swept through nearly a third of the U.S. yesterday, from Colorado to Massachusetts, with possible tornadoes moving through Pennsylvania and Connecticut.
I looked out and I could see the debris from the barn itself, and you could hear all the wood being splintered.
More than 450 reports of powerful storms, an 86-mile-an-hour wind report in Indiana and Ohio, damaging homes and businesses. Also reports of 3 inches of rain an hour, bringing flooding throughout Michigan and Pennsylvania.
Dramatic moments playing out, by the way, in Colorado. Have you seen this? It was all caught on camera. Check it out. A flash flood takes over drivers on Highway 24 in Manitou Springs. This driver pulled out his camera and documented the entire thing. The water is ash black because the Waldo Canyon fire from last year. Luckily, he made it out okay, as did every other driver that was caught up in that. But really terrifying moments for sure. Could you imagine being the driver of that car?
Some astonishing images out of Arizona next. Take a look, a massive dust storm blanketing a major American city, Phoenix.
Today, an ominous wall of dust came stalking the entire Phoenix area. A giant brown cloud knocking out electricity to thousands, delaying flights at the airport, creating traffic chaos.
15-passenger van, weather-related crash. The van rolled over.
People caught in the blast, covering their mouths and noses. It's known as a haboob, a freak desert dust storm.
The federal government says the top firefighting priority in the western U.S. right now is the stubborn fire sparked by lightning and burning along the mountains adjacent to Las Vegas, just 25 miles outside of town. The fight has been going on for days. Much of the city has been blanketed in smoke. Now over 1,000 firefighters are on this job.
A typhoon has hit Taiwan's capital, Taipei, killing one person and injuring dozens of others. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes before Typhoon Sulik hit. Roofs were ripped from homes and some areas were submerged by floodwaters. The typhoon is expected to hit mainland China later tonight.
It's already hit Taiwan, where parts of Taipei were flooded on Saturday. Rescue workers helped residents in some low-lying areas to escape their flooded homes. At least one person's been killed, a police officer hit by a falling brick on his way home from work. Sulik is currently rated a Category 1 typhoon on a scale of 5. It was expected to weaken into a tropical storm over the weekend, according to the Tropical Storm Risk website.
Winds of 118 kilometers an hour generated 10-meter waves and a spectacular display for Yuhan locals brave enough to witness Typhoon Sulik hit the east coast of China. But authorities were taking no chances, evacuating more than 500,000 people ahead of the storm, including thousands of fishing boats. Dozens of high-speed train services have been suspended and flights cancelled, stranding many passengers at terminals as far away as Shanghai. China has been besieged by extreme weather. In the southwest, rescue workers are digging new routes to reach people still trapped by week-long storms that have killed more than 80 people.
A column of ash reaching more than 5 kilometers into the sky after increased activity in the Tungurahua volcano. Ecuadorian authorities say an explosion in the volcano on Sunday could be felt hundreds of kilometers away. The dust visible well over 100 kilometers away in the capital, Quito. Authorities declared an orange alert, the second highest warning level, and said that more than 200 people had been evacuated from the locality.
Our focus shifts now due to the fact that weather is making news tonight. Yes, it's summer, and yes, across this country, it's supposed to be hot in a lot of places right about now, but forecasters are warning about a dangerous and oppressive heat wave hitting a big part of the country, one of the more sustained we've seen in several years.
Brian, the temperatures are in the mid-90s here in Midtown, but it's felt as hot as 102 degrees in New York City today because of the humidity. These temperatures are not unusual for 1 or 2 days, but to have a stretch of what we're expecting is unusual. At least 6, maybe 7 days of this heat will continue into the early part of the weekend.
Most of the country, 43 states are in the 90s this week. 13 states have issued heat advisories or warnings, with heat indices approaching 105 in some areas.
Thanks for joining us. We begin this hour in China, where torrential rainstorms have battered large parts of the country. Thousands of people have had to evacuate their homes, and the government says at least 295 people are either dead or missing.
More rain is expected to hit large parts of China. According to China Meteorological Administration, provinces of Gansu, Shanxi, Sichuan, Henan, and Guangdong will see heavy or torrential rain for 24 hours from Wednesday morning.
In Jiangsu City, workers are still repairing the La Qinglian Bridge, which collapsed last week and killed 12 people.
Take a look at what it looked like yesterday in Pennsylvania, parts of central PA near State College. I mean, heavy rain, flash flooding. Folks had to be rescued by boat. There were streets that were inundated, turned into rivers. I mean, literally within a matter of minutes, they had to do a lot of high water rescues.
And guess what? We now have the wettest June ever recorded in Philadelphia, 10.11 inches, beating the old record. We still have a couple days to go. Meanwhile, in Wilmington, there are nearly 12 inches of rain, way over the old record, 0.9 inches. That's one of the wettest months of any time of the year that we've ever seen.
A big rain-producing weather system just parked along the coastline for days, showing no signs right now of moving. It has caused flooding in rural and urban areas from the Carolinas to New England, and just today, tornado sightings and significant damage in the area around New York City.
This is the kind of heat we expect out here in late summer. Not only is this brutal heat wave hitting earlier than usual, it's expected to be the worst in a decade. Tucson was hotter than Cairo, Egypt. California's Death Valley hotter still, approaching 130 degrees.
We could see temperatures at least very close to the hottest temperatures ever recorded on Earth.
Researchers say get used to it. Alexander Gershinoff, who studies climate change at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, says Western heat waves are changing.
The new types of heat waves that are becoming increasingly frequent are humid heat waves, and with high humidity we actually have much hotter nighttime temperatures.
Bill mentioned that the temperature in Death Valley, California was approaching 130. Well, the hottest day ever recorded on Earth was in Death Valley, almost exactly 100 years ago, July 10th, 1913. It hit 134.
On this Monday, 19 firefighters have been killed while battling a fast-moving wildfire about 85 miles northwest of Phoenix. They were part of an elite group of specially trained firefighters called Hot Shots. Officials say the crew was overtaken by the flames and had deployed their personal fire shelters in a final attempt to save themselves. It's the single worst loss of firefighters battling a wildfire since 1933.
And turning now to the weather. Heavy downpours are continuing to batter large parts of this country. 9 provinces actually and municipalities have been affected.
The severe convective weather started around 3:10 p.m. on Sunday. Some residential houses have been inundated and road traffic was severely affected.
The storm has caused 39 deaths. and 13 are still missing. North China and cities in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River have also been hardest hit.
Flooding and landslides unleashed by torrential rains in southwest China's Chongqing municipality has led to 2 deaths as of Monday, according to the Ministry of Civil Affairs. In Chongqing, nearly 880,000 people have been affected and over 100,000 evacuated.
Scenes of devastation following a magnitude 6.2 earthquake that struck Indonesia on Tuesday, killing at least 22 and injuring more than 200.
They say the jolt damaged about 300 houses and buildings. 2 apparent aftershocks measuring magnitude 5 triggered landslides. Some people remain missing.
Hundreds of dead fish have been washing up on the beaches of the Mississippi Gulf Coast for the past 2 days. Mississippi officials want you to be aware, but not afraid.
Stingrays, fish, shrimp, eels, and crabs, all dead, all spread along beaches along the Mississippi Gulf Coast Tuesday. Officials say it's the second day of a fish kill for the record book.
Waves as high as 7 meters pounded homes and businesses on Chile's coastline. The extreme conditions started on Wednesday, with weather experts warning they could last until the weekend. High winds caused the tidal surges, which have led emergency services to issue weather warnings to 11 regions in the South American country, predicting strong winds, high tides and large waves. In the city of Vina del Mar, about 120 kilometers west of the capital Santiago, the waves washed over sea defenses, flooding coastal streets and damaging homes and businesses. Seaside resorts also suffered, and one port was forced to close to all vessels. In another area, 8 homes were flooded and 32 people affected.
A lot of folks around the country found themselves dealing with extreme weather on this first day of the holiday weekend. Look at this. It seemed more like the middle of winter in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, after a storm dumped more than a foot of hail. They had to call out the snowplows. Many homes and businesses were damaged.
And here's some pictures. Take a look at the roof here, completely overtaken by the weight of the hail. Reportedly paintball-sized hail. And by the looks of these pictures, it sure does look like winter.
We are well into summer, but it sure doesn't look like it in this New Mexico town, covered in white after a storm dumps buckets of hail, leaving plenty of damage behind, too.
Along the Florida Panhandle today, heavy rain and thunderstorms caused flash flooding. In several areas, as much as 20 inches of rain has fallen since this morning. And highly dangerous rip currents forced beaches in Florida and Alabama to close.